Well, good morning. We are on, let me see here, day 54 of our journey through the Word. And I just want to take a minute as we get started just to, again, give you a word of encouragement for you and for me. Satan is really pushing to make my schedule very busy, and both at work and church and home. And he's doing that to frustrate me, to make me want to look for things to give up, and I think more importantly to give up on this journey through the Word. He would like nothing more than for me to stop. But I want to be encouragement to you, and pray that you'll do the same for me, that we will continue this journey. God has taught me a great deal as I have picked up and spent time in His Word. And there's a lot to go, and I'm excited of the days ahead. There's a lot still to learn, and I know Satan would love nothing more than for me to put it aside and just say, "You're too busy." So I want to encourage you as we start this day to not give up. I know life's busy, but we can be an encouragement to each other as we journey through the Word. Have you ever turned a blind eye to evil? Do we have levels of evil like we have levels of sin? Something like, murder is worse than adultery. Is it? We're taught in God's Word that sin is sin in the eyes of God. And we can't measure it according to man's standard, because if we do, our measurement is always wrong. Evil means something that is morally wrong or bad, immoral, wicked. And sin is a transgression of divine law. In the days ahead, we will see when a new king for the northern or the southern kingdoms is introduced, it says that they either did good or evil in the sight of the Lord. Again, evil is morally wrong or bad, immoral, wicked, and we're going to see some evil kings in the days ahead. But I'm not the one to judge. I'm using the words that have been given to us, and God has not appointed me judge, nor has He called me to do so, and so that is not mine to judge of others. God has a warning for us in our reading today, out of 20 verse 4, and it's talking specifically, the headlines dealing with the punishment of disobedient, and it says, if the people of the community ignore those who offer their children to Moloch and refuse to execute them, and them are those that are doing the execution, those that are sacrificing their children to this pagan, this false god. And God says, I myself will turn against them and their families and cut them off from the community. This will happen to all who commit spiritual prostitution by worshiping Moloch. And I know we're talking about murder and idolatry in this passage, but I believe God expects us not to ignore any type of evil or sin. We're not to turn a blind eye to those. Spiritual prostitution is giving of ourselves to another god. And as I've shared before, what other gods, or I asked before, what other gods do we worship? Sports, money, careers, stuff, position, popularity. They don't have to be false gods like Baal and Moloch. As we read and we read the other day, they even worshiped the goat demon in the fields. And God said no. He said there will be no other God before me. Anything that draws us away from the one true God is causing us to be spiritually or spiritual prostitutes. Don't misunderstand me. There's nothing wrong with sports, money, careers, or stuff. And they're not bad in and of themselves. But when they become more important than God, they cause us to sin. Leviticus 20:22 talks about the land will vomit you out. And I thought that was interesting. I had to go back and just kind of look up the definition. But we all know what the word vomit means. And it's a great word picture in this. Again, we'll read about the well vomiting out. And we will read here about the land vomiting out. What causes a person to vomit? It is what the stomach does with the food when it is nauseated. It cannot bear the contents. It is spewing with force or violence. Again, God warns the people of the consequences of their sins. The land will not bear their sin, their unfaithfulness to God. The land will spew them out with force and violence. I want to leave you with a promise from God today. God is true to His Word. We can see that example after example in our reading, but I think if we go back and review and examine our lives, we can see how He does that in our lives as well. God is true to His Word. And the promise made originally to Abraham, God confirms again today when He says, "But I promise you, you will possess their land." That was a promise made before Moses in today's reading. I promise you. You can take it to the bank. God said it, and it will be. And if just knowing the story ahead, it will be. I am the Lord who makes them holy. Holy is being specifically recognized or declared sacred by religious use, dedicated or devoted to the service of God, saintly, godly, devout, having a spiritual, pure quality. You are, I am, we are holy because God has made us holy. There is no other. I will see you again tomorrow as we continue our journey through the Word.